All right, class is in session, doing another atomic attraction, down to our last couple chapters, doing a step-by-step, how to become more attractive. This one's going to be on the friend zone. And like I said, this is not just only about physical attraction, it's about mental attraction, just behavior, everything. And, all the prior chapters are in my playlist here on the channel, and you can go through all of them. They're all summaries, save you time. But in that saving of time, there's no missing the information, because I covered tons of information on how to become more attractive. So I just cut out the fluff, for you guys so you have time. But anyway, this one's going to be on the friend zone, but what I want to cover, and this is just going to be in my, I'll do the dialogue of when Harry met Sally, the when men and women can't be friends. If you haven't seen that movie, I'm going to link just the clip of that movie in the description. And it's a like, I think it's late 1980s or early 1990s. With Meg Ryan, that was a hottie back then, and Billy Crystal, and they were friends or whatever. But red pill wasn't really a thing back then. But this little dialogue that they have about men and women can't be friends, this was kind of risque back then. Like, ooh, they're saying it, But it's funny because, so many men actually were like, good, they're saying it. But anyway, there's just so much in there that is not explained, But anyway, so Billy Crystal says to Meg Ryan, they're getting into a car at from a convenience store, I think. But anyway, they got this little station wagon out front of this convenience store, and they're walking out of the store to get in the car. And as they get in the car, Billy Crystal says, "What do you want me to do about it? Take it back? Okay, I take it back." And then Sally, Meg Ryan, the hottie, she says, "You can't take it back." He says, "Why not?" She says, "Because it is already out there." "Oh, geez, what are we supposed to do? Call the cops? It is already out there." So he's trying to say, the fact that I guess he hit on her, you're being silly. And she's like, "Just let it go, or just let it lie, okay?" And that's kind of a bad, that's her holding frame now. She's leading. But anyway, and he says, "Great, let it lie. That's my rule. Or that's my policy." And then he says, "That's what I always say, just let it lie. Want to spend the night in a motel?" As they drive away down the road, now they're driving down the road, and he kind of makes that joke, And he says, "You see what I did there? I did not let it lie. I said I would, then I didn't. I went the other way." And then she says, Harry, we are just going to be friends." And now that's her taking frame, Great, friends, best thing. He's kind of being a little sarcastic. "You realize, of course, we can never be friends." And she says, "Why not?" "Well, what I am saying is men and women, and this is not a come-on in any way, shape, or form. Men and women can't be friends because this part, the sex part, always gets in the way. And we all know as men that's true. And you know what? Women do know this is true. You should never argue about this with women. I've had, and before I killed the beta, and before I did all my dating, I did tons of dating back from like 2017, 2018, 2019. I mean, I just had this 304 phase, like I've said before in my videos, tons of dating. And part of a mistake I made was I would have these conversations because I didn't know any better. I didn't know that women knew there was no friend zone. They know. They act like they don't know. All right? But they put you in the friend zone for a reason. They're not sexually attracted to you. And they know this. But you're still useful to them. And you could always be backup depending on where you fit in their sexual attractiveness, right? But men and women can't be friends because the sex part gets in the way. Like I said, women know this, so don't have these arguments. You'll look like a fool. If you're having these arguments, a woman's going to be like, "He doesn't even know. We already know." A true player knows. A true player knows that a woman already knows. And women like men that get it, If a woman ever says, be friends, just say, "No, thank you. Not interested." And don't be mean about it or don't be rude about it. No emotions, just indifference. Not interested, that's okay. and then don't let her try to explain, and you don't explain it, because they'll sit there for 3 hours acting like they don't understand, and they do clearly understand. They know what they're doing. That's not true. This is what Sally says. I have a number of men friends, and they're not having sex with me, and so this is what women. I mean, if you've ever had this discussion with women, this is their exact response. It's like it's like verbatim. I mean, any man that's had this discussion, there's numerous men that have. They'll say the same thing, and they know. They know. No, you don't. He says. She says, yes, I do. And he says, no, you don't. They're kind of being silly. And he says, let's see. Sorry, went too far there. Let's get this. Okay. And then she says, yes, I do. No, you only think you do, he says, right? And he says, you mean I am having sex with these men without my knowledge? Again, she's, what's they call that? Deliberate, deliberate misunderstanding. She knows, I am not, let's see. I am not saying that, I'm not saying that. I am saying that all these men want to have sex with you, which all men know. With the bar for men is low, but she's cute, so but the bar for men is low with the women we will have sex with, because we don't have to invest in them. Women have to carry the baby for 9 months, at least 9 months. So they have to be with this baby for 9 months minimum, right? And then they got to raise it, minimum 18 years. With us, we just drop a load and we're done. We don't have to. That's why we'll have sex with losers, fat girls, whatever, But women, they know their standards don't drop, So they think from a we both have a blind spot there, but they do know most men want to play them. And then she says they do not, do not, do to. They're both going back and forth. How do you know? She says, because no man can be friends with a woman he finds attractive. He always wants to have sex with her. So you are saying a man can be friends with a woman he finds unattractive? And then he says, no, you pretty much want to nail them too, which we do. We will nail, like I said, our standards will drop very low if it's casual sex, for sure. Because we don't have to invest in the child. This all goes back to human reproduction. What if they don't want to have sex with you? And she says, it's too late. The sex thing is already out there, and the relationship is ultimately doomed. And that is the end of the story. And then she says, well, I guess we are not going to be friends then. That's too bad. Which, she already knows, and it's, it's like, it's not, it's not too bad, For a man, it's good, because women get a lot of utility out of men. Men do not get utility out of women. The main thing we want from women is sexuality. Otherwise, we can handle things ourselves. We're very independent. And then he says, guess not. He says, guess not. When she says, I guess we're not going to be friends. And he says, guess not. And then she says, you were the only person I knew in New York. See, that right there it's a kind of passive aggressive, like, ooh, I could see a beta male going, well, maybe I got a chance. If I'm the only one she knows, now you're hanging around trying to, be her friend and have sex with her when, yeah, you might be the only one she knows now, but a pretty woman or halfway decent woman, she'll find men friends real quick, Anyway, so chapter 49, we'll start real quick here so we don't go too long. Chapter 49, to stay out of the friend zone. He had a place in her life. He had a place in her life. Never made her think twice. What a fool believes. Doobie Brothers. So, yep. He never made her think twice, meaning he never said, let's say, he wanted to be one of their friends. He should have said something, right? What a fool believes, right? So, if you want to become intimate with a woman, you must avoid the friend zone at all costs. Facts. The moment you become friends with a woman instead of intimate with her is the moment you sacrifice seduction. uh, for friendship. Facts. And it says seduction. I mean, and here's the thing. That's why I only say, deal with high interest women. And I know the book where there's a little bit of caveat there is that I don't believe in seduction. The woman should already want you. If you're seducing a woman, that's a woman that has moderate interest. You don't need seduction with the high interest woman. She's already been seduced by who you are, your immediate presence. That's who you deal with. So understand, seduction is talking a moderately interested woman into becoming attracted to you. And I know this book's using kind of a different, definition for it, but definitions are important. And my thing is, if you feel like you have to seduce a woman, she doesn't have enough interest in you. Okay, a study composed by the University of Wisconsin found that men that that are that had a hard time just being friends. So men have a hard time with just being friends with a woman and want more, of course. And we guys know that. No, you have to be honest with yourself. That's important in dating. Be honest with yourself. Men are honest with themselves. What do you want? And don't be afraid to tell people in the world, especially women, what you want. And the thing with women is they're so smart and they're so good with psychological dynamics. They know what you want already. So don't hide it. They're just going to lose respect for you. One of the main things I've learned, I've talked to thousands of women on the phone, from dating app matches to regular dates. And a lot of, some of them I've had sex with, and a lot of them I haven't had sex with. So, but, I've learned a lot. And one of the things I did learn was two things. One thing is, don't do these. One thing is, guys always claim they can eat vagina better than anybody else. So don't say that. You'll just be like every other guy, and don't mention it. And secondly, be very ambiguous about it, And secondly is, every guy will say, I'm not like other guys. I like to be, I don't just want sex. Women know that's a lie, and they'll lose respect for you unless they're extremely high interest, but they know you just lied. So inevitably, that's going to cause some kind of loss of respect. You'll have more leeway if you have high interest, but if you're medium interest, or it doesn't look good. She knows you're lying. It's like a woman saying, well, I'm celibate. You immediately know, if you have a half a brain, that's a lie. No, and you kind of roll your eyes, right? Well, she's going to do the same if you go, I'm not like other guys, because she knows she's talked to thousands of guys. Guys come at women all the time. If they're halfway decent looking, they've had guys coming at them all the time. Okay. The Wisconsin study also discovered that men have no idea how other people feel about them. Men, however, are more likely to assume women have interest in them. Well, that's because we have to, because God made it that way, or the higher power made it that way, whatever you want to believe in. I believe in God, and God made it that way because he wants men to approach women, even if there's a thought of it. He doesn't want you to miss an opportunity, so he makes you think a smile from a woman, and you should, and if you get rejected, oh well. Women are more likely to assume men have no interest in them at all, and that's true too. So that prevents women, because their egos are very fragile. And see, men, we don't like rejection. Nobody does, right? But women, especially women, don't like rejection. You think you don't like it? Multiply that by like 1,000,000, and that's women's feeling of rejection. That's why they won't come up to you unless they really, really know or really, really like you. They won't come up to you. A lot of men willingly enter the friend zone, which is a mistake, because they fear, and it's about fear, exactly. They fear being rejected, right? And have low self-esteem. Yes. Many men use the friend zone strategy and in an effort to turn her into their girlfriend after she gets to know him. Exactly. But that strategy doesn't work, because she'll already find lack of respect for you if you allowed yourself to be your friend. That goes back to self-confidence, strength, and masculinity. It's not strong to, agree to be a woman's friend. She knows that. That's an immediate disrespect. Women love strength, and they're going to find weakness in you wanting to be her friend. She's going to know. You don't think you're like the 100th guy that's tried the friend zone thing? She knows exactly why you're being her friend, right? And then if you are her friend, and then try to get vagina later, try to get laid later, she's gonna know. Oh, this is why. Even if she didn't know, she'd be like, oh, this is why this guy was doing that. You know. Case number 36. So it's called Friends Forever. Ethan and Juliana. So Ethan saw Juliana outside the library at like a college, and this is in the book about a case study, and to highlight, this friend zone phenomenon. And Ethan's like, dude, I love that chick, man. I wish I could get to know her. I wish I could, get her into a relationship. She's beautiful, right? Anyway, a friend of his knows her, and he introduces him to her. And he's like, dude, right before he meets her, he's like, I am going to do whatever I can to become this girl's boyfriend, right? Well, he's like becoming her friend, because he's trying so hard to, be responsive, to be her, to be caring. He's listening to her talk on the phone. She's attracted to him. She thinks he's cool. She's telling him all her problems. They're both sharing their stories. They're talking on the phone for hours. They're starting to become the best of friends. And he's playing that friend zone role. And he's like, I'm going to sit in this friend zone role for a little while. And then I'm going to go for, the hard ask of being her boyfriend, right? Well, she's starting to think he's such a cool guy, but she's like, I could never be his girlfriend because he's just so, lovable, as a buddy, And then Ed, she meets this guy Ed at the gym. So now we have a juxtaposition, right? And Ed, she meets at the gym, and he makes his intentions clear real quick. He's like, hey, you want to go out? I'm here to be in a romantic relationship. I'm looking for a sexual relationship, and she's attracted to Ed, and she liked the fact that Ed was bold and came out with that. She started telling her friends, like, I met this guy at the gym, he's so hot, and, he wants this from me, and I'm excited to go on the first date, and she's like, I think we're going to get down. And she starts telling all her friends, even Ethan, that's her friend, right? And Ethan thinks, oh, crap, and he starts telling her, guys only want one thing from you, and that guy's just trying to get sex. And, well, that's really what Ethan wants. That's what Ethan, but he's trying to talk crap, like acting like this guy. And so he's like, oh, I ain't got time. I got to beat this Ed guy out, And he's like, Juliana, I really do want to, I've been your friend, but I've really wanted to be, your boyfriend. I want to take you on a date. And she's like, oh my God, seriously? She goes, I don't want to ruin what we have. That's a big thing women will say is they don't want to ruin what they have. Well, the guy does want to ruin what they have. He wants to ruin the friendship and be boyfriend and girlfriend. But what she's really saying is like, what is the real, like, what's the womanese, right? And what she's saying is I don't find you sexually attractive. You ain't that guy to me. But, if you're dealing with a girl, you have to be honest with yourself. If you're dealing with a girl that's attractive to you, if you're dealing with a girl that you want to have sex with, then you need to go try to get sex with that girl. Because think about it. Think if you don't, and then the next day, like this, some guy's asking her out at the gym, and you're on a 2-hour phone call with her again, and she's talking about her feelings, and you truly do want to have sex with her. Now, and you're kind of using this, I'm afraid to get rejected if I ask, right? And here's this guy banging her doggy, and she's getting his D sucked, and you're sitting there after they do that having a phone conversation. What kind of beta bitch do you look like? I mean, that's with any girl, That's why you don't talk to them for a long time before if you're not banging them, and you do, and you do want to bang them, then you are a fool. If you're sitting there talking to them, because she'll lose respect if she goes and bangs another guy, and now you're talking to him on the phone after she bangs that guy, because she's going to have this feeling of, man, this guy's a loser compared to the guy women respect guys they bang. They do. They respect them more than they respect the guys just talking to them. Because they know that you'd probably want to be there banging them, and you weren't. You know what I mean? But they'll waste your time. They will, and it's not it's a feature, not a bug. Women need men to survive. Women need the community to survive. They need other people. They will waste your time and take your attention if you allow them, and that's your fault, not their fault. Okay? Women aren't bad for doing that. When you get a woman to put you in the friend zone, you are subconsciously telling her you don't have the confidence to seduce her. And that's true. And what I say about seduce is basically you don't have the confidence to tell her you want to bang her. And she knows that, and she's going to think you're a bitch for doing that. She will. She's going to think you're a bitch. Study conducted at Pennsylvania State University, researchers observed And this is important here, that only 10% of couples started out as friends. I mean, they're right there. I mean, 90% of people that start out as friends don't become couples. So that right there tells you don't be in the friend zone. Women put guys in the friend zone they're not sexually attracted to, and they know that. Not great odds if you are looking to turn that hot friend into a hot girlfriend. A woman knows exactly when a man wants to be more than friends. They absolutely do. Women are great at knowing who wants to bang them and who doesn't. A woman also knows when a man is too weak. Absolutely. They know when you're afraid to ask and you really like them. Women know how you look at them, how you breathe, how you talk. Women are awesome communicators, and they can suss you out. So don't think you're ever pulling a fast one on them. And seduce her. This is the reason why the man is condemned to the friend zone. Yep, because she thinks you're a bitch. There is nothing, but she'll use whatever you want to give her. I mean, women, and again, not bad. We love them for what they do. And they'll use the hell out of you. There is nothing, because she's like, if he ain't going to tell me, I'm just going to sit here and act like I don't know. You know? There is nothing more unattractive than a man who is too afraid to express himself or to seduce a woman. Exactly. And I say, and I've done this so many times, it was hard in the beginning, but, just telling a woman, yeah, I'd rather bang. I don't want to be friends. I'd rather bang. Oh, you want to get to know me? I'm not really interested in that. Are you interested in, coming over and banging? I mean, if you say that with full chest, women will respect that. They'll respect the fact that you had the balls to tell them to come over. She can easily say no, but she won't be disrespectful. I've never had a woman be disrespectful that I've been very honest with. I'm like, nah, I'm looking to fuck, And so they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not looking to fuck tonight, but, they won't be mean about it. Men think, oh my gosh, you're going to know I want to. No, they don't care. All right, so, yes, he finds attractive. There is a good chance that a woman will try to friend zone you in an effort to see if you are willing to take the weakened position, or to make or see if you have the guts to seduce her. Well, if she's doing that, and like we talked about testing, she doesn't like you enough. Don't ever. I mean, if someone's putting you in says they're going to put you in the friend zone, you just say not interested, and then you clearly say, I'm here to fuck. I mean, I'm sorry, that's what I would say. The book says, say not interested. No, tell them what you want and see, already if they're putting you in the friend zone, you already, which for whatever reason, they don't need that. And a lot of times it's not you. It's the fact that position's closed right now. So if you went, let's say you go to Starbucks or wherever, you go to a police department and you want to be a dispatcher. Well, they have already got the dispatcher spot filled, but we need a clerk. Well, you didn't want to be clerk. You want to be dispatcher, right? Well, we don't need that spot filled right now. So, and so that's what women are saying. We got the banging position for women is filled pretty quickly. So there's not a whole lot of openings, In the police department, I'm 22 years retired HPD. K9's a popular one. Helicopters are popular one. It's hard to get in those positions because they're filled really quickly, right? So if they say, hey, we can put you in file, that's like the friend zone, right? But, so a lot of times, it's hard to get in. So just like a woman, she's got her sex spot filled really quickly. It's like K9 or helicopters in the police department, or SWAT. Everyone loves them. Okay. If you are willing to take the weakened position, or to, have the guts to guess, every time, let's see, the weak man fails this test every time, while the attractive man rejects her offer. Correct. He rejects the friend zone offer, 100%. Respond with, sorry, not interested. That's what the book says. I say, no, I want to fuck you. I mean, that's really seriously, I've gone like that direct, It makes you sound more man, like, here's what I'm here for. Now she has the, she could say, oh, really? I didn't know that. Wow, you're bold. And she can respect that boldness. And she might bang you now, seriously. She might have thought you were a little bitch, but now you had the balls to say that to her face. She might be like, damn, that kind of turned me on. I've had that happen. This response immediately disqualifies the woman. The Romeo and Juliet, the Romeo and Juliet makes people more desirable by making your love more hard to acquire. This um, this makes your love, and this is kind of like what we talked about, the scarcity effect, right? This makes your love more attractive and desirable. Much in the same way, Romeo and Juliet attraction for each other flourished when the moment that they were told they could not be together, because it was, yeah, they were told, yeah, together with each other. Yep. Um, I don't know that story very well, but I do know how it ends. Okay. Um, after the Okay, even after marriage, women might try to put you in the friend zone. Don't take that. That's just basically, you know, um, like, that's a sexless marriage, right? It's up to you to decide whether you are willing to accept her offer for friendship or hold out for intimacy. When so that's your job. When a woman says friend zone, right? It's your job to, accept that. And I've been there, and the fact that she's, asked you to be in the friend zone more than likely means things are over, because she's not going to do that with a high interest person, because she's not going to want you. Let's say you're a high interest person and she really wants to get with you, and you accept the friend zone, right? Well, that means she could lose a chance to get with you, because if you're in the friend zone, you might go find another girlfriend the next day, So a high interest woman is never going to offer you the friend zone. So, and that's the only ones you want to deal with. So once the friend zone is offered, like I said, either say not interested, or no, I'm here to, like I said, fuck, and see what they say. And now it's up to her, right? But yeah, that's it. We'll see you on the next one.